There is a sound in almost every British home, every autumn at almost the same time. A tick, a gurgle. The radiator under the window coming back to life for the first time since April. You have felt the specific kind of cold that comes from a radiator that has not quite reached the far corner of the room, and the specific kind of heat that comes from sitting directly in front of one after being outside in the rain. Britain has heated its homes this way. Water pushed through metal panels bolted to the wall since the Victorians first installed them in country houses in the 1850s. Today, more than 23 million homes in the UK still run on a gas boiler and a loop of radiators. In much of Northern Europe, that system is being quietly retired. In Norway, over 60% of homes now heat with electric or heat pump systems built into the floor or the air itself. Britain kept the radiator. Not because it is the best way to heat a home, because everything else about British housing was built around it, and changing it now means confronting almost every other problem with the British house at the same time. The story of this system begins in the winter of 1855 in St. Petersburg, Russia. A German-born plumbing engineer named Franz Sangalli patented a cast-iron device he called a hotbox. Unlike the noisy, high-pressure steam systems of the era, Sangalli's design circulated heated water through a closed metal loop. This delivered a quieter, steadier warmth. By the late 1850s, the technology crossed the channel. British manufacturers began casting these heavy iron panels, but they were not meant for ordinary households. Instead, they appeared in wealthy country estates and massive public institutions, hospitals, schools, prisons, and government offices. These early systems relied on a coal-fired boiler in the cellar. As the water heated, it naturally rose through vertical pipework by gravity alone, feeding a single radiator in each designated room before sinking back down to be reheated. Because of their high cost, these highly ornamental cast-iron radiators served as prominent status markers for the Victorian elite. While a few surviving examples still heat Victorian terraced homes in cities like Leeds and Manchester, often repainted and preserved for decades, these remnants represent the rare exceptions rather than the norm of early industrial housing. Until the 1960s, the typical British household warmed itself room by room. Families relied on a single open coal fire, almost always in the living room, leaving bedrooms and hallways freezing or dependent on small, portable paraffin stoves. This heavy reliance on raw coal came to a devastating head in December 1952. A severe temperature inversion trapped thick coal smoke and fog over London, creating the Great Smog. Official figures recorded approximately 4,000 excess deaths over those 5 days, though later studies suggested the true toll was far higher. In response, Parliament passed the Clean Air Act of 1956. The law empowered local authorities to establish smoke control areas where burning raw coal was restricted. As open fireplaces became impractical, households began looking for alternative ways to heat entire properties. This shift accelerated the adoption of centralized heating systems that could run on cleaner fuels. Yet change was slow. By 1970, only about 30% of British homes had central heating, meaning the vast majority of the population still faced the winter with cold rooms and localized warmth. In December 1965, exploration rigs in the North Sea struck a massive reservoir of natural gas. By mid-1967, the first onshore deliveries began flowing directly into the British grid. This discovery triggered one of the largest peacetime engineering campaigns in the nation's history. C-Day, the systematic conversion of the entire national gas network. Between 1968 and 1977, technicians adapted more than 40 million appliances in approximately 14 million homes, replacing toxic coal-derived town gas with cleaner, energy-dense natural gas. This cheap, plentiful domestic fuel made gas-fired combi and system boilers the default choice for both new housing and retrofitted heating systems. Installers connected these boilers directly to the established network of copper pipes and wall-mounted steel radiators, standardizing the entire industry around high-temperature water loops. The Gas Act 1986 privatized British Gas, turning the state monopoly into a public limited company. While privatization reshaped the commercial market and consumer options, the underlying physical infrastructure remained exactly the same. The transition was incredibly rapid. By 1990, more than 80% of British homes were warmed by gas-fired central heating connected to radiators. This was a faster and more total switch than in most of continental Europe, firmly cementing the boiler and radiator combination as the standard British heating system. The core of this lock-in lies in the physical fabric of the British home itself. The United Kingdom has the oldest residential building stock in Europe, with over 30% of English homes built before 1930. These properties were constructed with solid brick walls, completely lacking the cavity spaces that allow for modern wall insulation. In these drafty, high heat loss environments, wet radiators offered an elegant, non-invasive solution. Installers could run copper pipework along skirting boards or hide them beneath floorboards with minimal structural work. Installing underfloor heating, by comparison, requires ripping up historic floors, laying thick insulation, fitting manifolds, and raising floor heights, a process that causes weeks of disruption. This adaptability increased in the 1980s with the arrival of the compact gas combi boiler. Small enough to hide inside a standard kitchen cupboard, these units eliminated the need for bulky cold water tanks in the loft or hot water cylinders in airing cupboards. Homeowners could upgrade their heating system incrementally, room by room, or swap a single failing radiator in an afternoon. The easiest heating system to retrofit became the one that homeowners had the least incentive to rip out, cementing a technology designed for a previous century into the physical structure of the modern British street. The physical barrier to modernizing this infrastructure comes down to a technical metric: flow temperature. This is the temperature of the water delivered to the radiators. A standard gas boiler circulates water at 65 to 80 degrees Celsius. By contrast, an air source heat pump runs most efficiently when producing water at just 35 to 45 degrees. Because this cooler water carries less energy, it requires much larger radiators or underfloor systems to warm a room. In drafty Victorian and Edwardian homes, heat escapes faster than low-temperature emitters can replenish it. Operating a heat pump here requires an integrated overhaul, wall insulation, expanded radiators, and weather-compensated controls. A field trial in a 1905 semi-detached home in Manchester revealed this reality. Installing a heat pump with larger radiators initially left rooms cold. Only after adding internal wall insulation did temperatures stabilize, reducing energy bills by 45%. A heat pump is not a simple one-for-one boiler swap, but a context-dependent system upgrade. This technical friction explains the policy gap. In 2021, the government set a target of 600,000 heat pump installations per year by 2028. In 2023, actual installations reached only about 60,000. The radiator remains on the wall because it belongs to an infrastructure built for a different century, waiting for the homes around it to catch up. If this story interested you, there is a video right here about what happened to the British house. Subscribe for more deep dives into the history of our built world. Across the North Sea, different physical and political conditions created entirely different heating realities. In Norway and Sweden, more than half of all homes rely on electric heating or heat pumps. This adoption was supported by cheap, abundant hydroelectric power and a housing stock built largely after 1970 with strict insulation standards. Further south, Germany and France install heat pumps at more than triple the UK's per capita rate. Much of their housing was built or rebuilt after 1945 with insulation in mind, but their success also relies on active policy. The Netherlands ended new gas connections for homes in 2018 while expanding municipal district heating networks. Germany's 2023 Buildings Energy Act coupled strict renewable mandates with financial support, despite significant political resistance, while France utilized heavy subsidies, tax credits, and a low-carbon nuclear grid. Britain has no equivalent statutory mandate for replacing existing boilers, leaving the decision down to individual choice. Ultimately, these international pathways show that there is no single template. Heating is shaped by a mix of local electricity grids, post-war housing history, and political willpower. Today, this structural legacy is visible on almost every British street. In the early 2020s, an estimated 90% of homes still rely on wet radiators, utilizing steel panel designs that have remained broadly familiar since the 1970s. To change this, the government introduced the Boiler Upgrade Scheme in 2022, offering subsidies to support low-carbon heat pumps. Yet uptake remains modest. A financial grant does not resolve the physical disruption of retrofitting uninsulated solid brick walls. Meanwhile, national policy has wavered. proposed restrictions on gas boilers in new-build properties, originally aimed at 2025, have faced repeated delays. For the individual homeowner faced with a sudden heating failure, a like-for-like boiler replacement is the most practical, least disruptive decision. The radiator on the wall persists because it is the path of least resistance. If this story interested you, there is a video right here about what happened to the British house. Subscribe to explore the hidden histories of our built world. Incremental retrofitting leaves the existing pipes and radiators in place, focusing instead on insulation, draft-proofing, and lower temperature heating controls, with larger radiators installed only where necessary. A second path, heat pump conversion, shifts the energy source entirely, pairing the new appliance with targeted fabric improvements and emitter upgrades. A third, more coordinated transition combines heat pump-ready new builds, urban district heating networks, and stronger financial support from the state. None of these pathways are simple, and each presents major, unresolved trade-offs. Homeowners face high upfront costs and structural disruption to floors and walls, while the wider market struggles with installer shortages and volatile energy prices. For millions of renters, these choices remain entirely out of their hands, while policymakers must protect vulnerable households from the cold during any systemic change. Ultimately, the radiator can be retained, adapted, or replaced, but the choice is never just about the appliance on the wall. If this story interested you, there is a video right here about what happened to the British house. Subscribe to explore the hidden histories of our built world. Today, the radiator remains a quiet monument to path dependency. Decarbonising Britain's heating isn't just about swapping a boiler, but upgrading the historic, drafty homes around it. Until the housing stock catches up to modern technology, these metal panels will continue to dictate the nation's energy future.